the American dream. To his last breath, he'll always be a soldier.
Heard on great radio stations all across America. It's the National Defense with Randy Miller and Jerry Newberry.
The National Defense is made possible by Ford, Go Further, by the Home Depot, more saving, more doing, by ADT Security, more than just a line in the sand, by VSP. For more information on how VSP can help you with your corrective vision needs, visit their website at VSP.com. By Morgan Stanley. Discover how they can help you reach your long-term financial goals at morganstanley.com. By the Wounded Warrior Project, serving those who sacrificed for over 15 years. Find them online at woundedwarriorproject.org. And by Farmers Insurance. At Farmers, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Find an agent at farmers.com.
This is the National Defense, Randy Miller and Jerry Newberry. And Jerry, as always, our dedication.
Hey, this show's for you, the men and women serving in our military. It's for the millions of veterans out there, and it's for all their families. We're here for you. We love you. God bless you.
And on the phone with me, the third generation of Earnhardts, Jeffrey Earnhardt, is with us. Jeffrey, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for taking the time today and talk about something that's very important. It's coming up this weekend. And first of all, if your name is Earnhardt, you can't go into real estate or plumbing, can you?
No, I don't believe so. I mean, I guess you could, but it kind of just makes sense to keep following in the footsteps of the rest of my family.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, you know, not only with the name value, but then you got the pressure on you to do a good job, to do it the way you... How long have you been racing?
I started racing when I was 14. This will be my third year running in the Cup Series. So been at it for a little while, but, you know, it's been a roller coaster, but a lot of hard work, and we've managed to stay afloat and you know, be able to be partnered with great people like Nine Line Apparel and Black Rifle Coffee, VRX Simulators, Diamondback Farms, just some incredible people that have not just been, you know, an honor to work with on the racing side, but you know, on the other side of things with, you know, doing foundations and charities and stuff like that. It really, you know, get involved in you know, real things that I feel like, you know, are way more important in life. So it's been pretty incredible and a lot of fun, but you know, it's not been easy by any means.
Yeah, and you guys are doing something really cool this weekend at Daytona. Talk about that a little bit, if you will. Yeah,
so you know, we got involved with Nine Line Apparel and doing a bunch of like little stuff here and there, and then you know, we started talking about, you know, putting Nine Line and a bunch of their other, you know, companies that they are working heavily with on the car, and trying to raise money for foundations and charities that they try to support. So at Charlotte, we had Angels of America Fallen, and you know, that turned out just incredible. It was a huge eye-opening experience to get to have some families out there and raise money for a great cause with them. And then now this weekend here at Daytona, we have the Nine Line Foundation, and you know, what they're trying to do and are doing is incredible as well. You know, Tyler Merritt, the owner of Nine Line Apparel, he's served and he just wants to continue to give back and make a difference. And you know, he's a solid dude, and to me, it says a ton about who he is as a person.
Well, and we got him on the phone here. It's retired Army Captain Tyler Merritt from Nine Line Apparel. Captain, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, and I appreciate the solid dude plug. I've worked with a lot of really cool individuals in the special operations community, and I would say that Jeffrey falls into the solid dude category as well. Yeah,
and so you retired, what, 11 months ago, you said?
Officially, yeah. Yeah. About 11 months ago, I left took off my uniform, and kind of like Jeff had mentioned, there's a lot of us out there in the same situation, trying to find that new sense of purpose. And, you know, Nine Line Apparel, we started in my garage about 6 years ago. It's grown incredibly fast. Been able to grow to have over 160 employees, and just moved into our brand new facility and get to work with fine individuals like Jeff. And we said, hey, you know what? How can I leverage my name to help raise money for an important cause? And we're raising money to build houses for homeless veterans. This is a Veterans Village initiative in Savannah. And Jeff,
cool.
through this initiative, hey, let's make some T-shirts, and all the money can go towards this initiative. And we raised 5,000 weeks just doing an online T-shirt sale. So it's been an incredible journey. I literally knew next to nothing about NASCAR, but I've come to love it. It's the most patriotic sport, I think, that's out there. And what a good group of individuals. And, man, it's a lot of fun going left-hand turns.
And it's crazy. The NASCAR fans are probably about the best fans in the world, aren't they?
Absolutely. It's salt of the earth. It's the collar and the guys who just, they work hard, they want to play hard, and they respect that we live in the greatest nation on earth. Yeah,
and, especially when it comes to veterans. I mean, you talk about support for veterans and support for our country. NASCAR has always been there. And the other cool thing about this weekend in Daytona, so the names of 400 active duty service members will be on the hood of Jeff's car. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we got the Coke Zero. I'm drinking one in my hand right now. It's my favorite beverage choice. And for the Coca-Cola 400, we put 400 active duty service members.
Wow.
Because that's what Veterans Day is about. It's a salute to the active duty service members. Memorial Day, it was the Coca-Cola 600, and we had 600 the names of 600 fallen veterans, and we actually had.
Wow.
Their family members come out to see the names of their loved ones on the hood, and it meant a lot to them.
Man.
And that entire garage, when people walked in, and the kids and the spouses of fallen service members walked in to look at their husband and their father, everyone stopped. Machines stopped making noise. People stopped turning wrenches, and it was that moment of silence. I wasn't even there, but I heard about it, and Jeff was there, and he can relive it.
Yeah, what kind of experience was that for you, Jeff?
Man, it was incredible, really. It was just awesome to get to see the reactions, and you just knew from their reactions what it meant to them, and to pay our respects to their loved one was the least that we could do, and it was a lot of fun, but it was definitely very touching and fighting back tears the whole weekend. So at one point I said, screw it, I'm just going to let it roll. So it was quite the experience, but a very big eye opener. And you think you're true blood American, and then you put in a situation like that, and then you realize how much more you need to be appreciative of what we got because of the people that have made those sacrifice.
Hey, Jeff, where does that come from for you? Such a heart for veterans.
I love our country. I love the freedom that we have, and I like to think that I understand a little bit of what sacrifices are made for this. But as I said, when you in situations like at Charlotte, you get it even more. I guess a bigger perspective of what it really is, and I love the country we live in, and I love our military and the people that allow us to enjoy life and be able to have fun and drive race cars.
Yeah, well said. And, I'm looking at the Nine Line Apparel website right now, Tyler, and this has got to be the most patriotic of any kind of gear you could have. I mean, I just want to read a couple of the collections here. The I'll Stomp You collection, the Don't Tread on Me collection, the Thin Blue Line collection, the I Stand collection. I mean, just some great designs that you guys have. When you started this company in your garage?
Yeah, 2012. So according to Inc. magazine, we are the 31st fastest growing company, and then achieve the and that's all organizations without any type of venture funding, PE funding. We got no one telling us what to do, and it's been great. We've averaged about 5,000% year over year, and it's because we have incredible, amazing employees. We've got some of the best veterans, spouses, family members that work for us. And I've been active duty, and this thing grew so fast. you have to rely on those individuals. And I'll tell you right now, people out there who own businesses, hire some veterans, especially the ones who are on their, down on their luck. Give them a chance. They do incredible things.
Yeah, and you should check out NineLineApparel.com. Just some really, really great stuff. And that was the other thing I was going to ask you, Tyler, about, your employees. Are they veterans? And you mentioned spouses of veterans. That's fantastic. You're giving them another shot and giving them a chance to build the company. Absolutely. I'm sitting here right now, again, drinking some Coke Zero. My favorite drink of choice for this weekend. Shameless plug for the Coke Zero. But no, we've got 5 veterans I'm sitting with right now in my sales department. One's used to be a combat cameraman. He's going to be out there taking pictures. I've got some 11 Bravos, some infantry guys, some mechanics. I'm from Hunter Army Airfield. I spent most of my career there. You got 160th, you got the Ranger Battalion, you got other great unit and organizations that are just a stone's throw away. So we've got a lot of veterans and spouses that work for us. Absolutely. We have a lot of the issues that come along with it. We've had, veteran suicide from our own employees a couple months ago. And the spouse was able to come to that last race. But there's a lot of issues, and we definitely need to address them. We need to have a better focus on hiring veterans and taking care of the emotional needs for sure. Yeah, we talk about that on this show every week and I think, companies are finally stepping up and realizing that, they're not just doing a favor for a veteran. You hire a veteran, you're doing yourself a favor because veterans... Yeah, they don't know to fail. Right, exactly. By and large, it doesn't matter if they're hourly or salary. You give them a task. Yeah. They're going to make it happen. Now, they might not do it in the traditional way. Sure. That's all right. Hey, Jeff, Jeff Earnhardt and Tyler Merritt are with us here on the National Defense. And, Jeff, what a cool thing this weekend. What are you looking for personally, obviously, to win? But what are you looking to do in terms of what your car is about and kind of the plan for this weekend for you? I just want to try and bring awareness to what the Nine Line Foundation's about. Hey, listen, guys, thank you so much for the time. And again, you go to NineLineApparel.com. Check out all the great gear there. Jeff, best wishes for this weekend. Thank you for what you're doing. And Tyler, of course, thank you for your service. Thank you for having us both on and helping spread the word. Appreciate it. Absolutely, man. Thank you so much. Welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller, and time for another Morgan Stanley Money Brief. And here with us this week is Peter Perez, Senior Vice President and Wealth Advisor for Morgan Stanley. Peter, how are you?
Hey, what's happening?
Listen, in this series on financial literacy that we talked about last week, we discussed budgeting, saving, investing. There are a number of our listeners who borrow money or use credit. Now, can we talk a little bit about the concept of credit ratings? It drives me crazy.
Sure. Well, let's get more basic than that. First, the word credit comes from the Latin word credo, which means belief.
I am learning so much. I mean, so what does belief have to do with credit?
Oh, man, credit has everything to do with faith.
How so?
Well, let's think in the simplest of terms. If you give me credit by lending me money, you've got to have a belief that I will not only pay you back what you lent me, but you also have to have an expectation to be paid back something extra for allowing me to use your money. And this extra amount is called interest.
Okay, so unlike my friends, what you're saying is that in order for me to lend you money, I need to believe you will pay me back.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So how would you determine whether or not to have faith in me?
Well, if I know you well as being trustworthy, I have faith in you. And if I lend you money because I know you're good for it.
Exactly. And I know you have a lot of faith in me. But, what if you don't know me?
Yeah.
How would you know if I'm a risk and wouldn't pay you back?
Well, I'd probably ask around, ask your friends, assuming you have some.
Exactly. Hey, watch it there about my not having any friends.
Right.
But seriously, you would ask my friends or others who have lent me money about my past behavior in paying people back. And since you don't know me and said I have no friends to vouch for me, there are companies that keep track of my past behaviors with credit and borrowing. And they score my ability and willingness to pay you back. And these companies would stand in as my friends in this instance.
So with friends like that, who needs enemies, huh?
Roger, you got it. And 3 companies each establish a score on my credit history. Again, my past and likely future ability to pay back what I've borrowed. This score is called a FICO score.
Okay. I've heard about the FICO scores. Tell me more about those.
Well, the company that originally did credit scoring was the Fair Isaac Company, later shortened to FICO.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the FICO scores range between 300 and 850, with 850s being a perfect credit score. In other words, all of your friends will vouch that you are good to go to lend me money, and I always pay it back.
Okay, so why is your FICO score important?
Well, your FICO score is important because it determines if you can get credit, right? And how much credit you can get, and then, of course, how much it will cost you in interest to borrow. So, as we'll discuss next time, the better your FICO score is, the more you can borrow and the more cheaply you can borrow it.
Ah. Well, I want to find out more about this. I look forward to talking to you about this more next week, Pete.
Yeah, me too. And again, thanks for the privilege of sharing this with our troops.
Hey, Pete Perez is with us, and he'll be back next week with a brand new money brief from Morgan Stanley right here on the National Defense.
All the gold in California is in a bank in the middle of Beverly Hills.
Welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller, and I am so happy to have Larry Gatlin, country music legend, on the phone with me. Larry, how are you?
I am deluxe. I told Bill Gaither, the old songwriter, one time, he called me. He said, "How you doing, Larry?" I said, "I'm a greatly blessed, highly favored, and perfect, forgiven child of God."
I just listened to that this morning with the Gaithers.
That's right. Well, that's fortuitous, as they would say.
It's very fortuitous.
No, they wouldn't say that.
And you know what? That is a great... I just recently found that song maybe 6 months ago, and man, that's a powerful song. It's a great song, and you guys sound great together.
Thank you. We wrote the thing. When I told Bill that, my greeting, he said, "Well, you know we've got to write that." I said, "Yeah, that's why I told you." So we went to his beautiful apartment here in Nashville and wrote it, did a little demo, and he called me 2 weeks later. He said, "I don't like it." I said, "What's wrong with it?" He said, "I don't like the melody." I said, "It's a beautiful melody. I wrote it while you were in the bathroom tinkling." And he said, "I want it to sound exactly like all the gold in California." I said, "Baby, we don't have to ask anybody." So greatly blessed, all the gold. So it worked.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Oh, that's great stuff. I was just in Nashville.
Really? What were you doing here?
Well, I'm originally from Knoxville, so I came in to visit Mama, but I also stopped in to see Paul Simon perform at the Bridgestone Arena.
Oh, yeah.
That was a great show.
I should have gone to see that, and I didn't. He's a wonderful songwriter, wonderful performer, obviously a legend in our business. And I had a big article in the Nashville Tennessean yesterday morning. Y'all might ought to Google that. That's for a little background.
Sure.
Cindy Watts wrote a wonderful article. Let me kind of tell how I feel about things. But I went to the store and bought 3 of those newspapers, but I have to confess, I don't read the local paper. I know more about national politics than I do what's going on in my precinct. Well,
let's talk about national politics a little bit and your take on it, Larry. We're talking to Larry Gatlin here in the National Defense. A big Fox News contributor. I've seen a lot of your pieces on Fox News. You're just a troublemaker, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I'm. Socrates. There are not a whole lot of country songwriters reading Socrates.
You're right. It's true.
Well, they called him the gadfly.
Yeah, okay, I can see that with you.
Yeah, he was the gadfly. He was the horsefly, always flying around the horse's mouth or their rear end, kind of sniffing things out and just being a pest.
Yeah.
And I want to do it in a good-natured way with some humor, and try to go around or through or over the rancorous discourse that's going on.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean that I'm going to back down, because I am not going to back down.
Yep. You sound like the son of a Marine.
I am the son of a 91-year-old Semper Fi China Marine.
All right.
He was here for lunch yesterday for the 4th of July. So here's the deal. I am not, we have a president who has been a friend of mine for 40 years. A good friend. He's been good to me. We've played golf. I lived at Trump Tower. I think for the most part he's doing a wonderful job. I'm a reader. Saul Bellow, the wonderful novelist and philosopher, he said, much intelligence is invested in ignorance when the need for illusion is deep. Now, we Texans say a lot of people waste a lot of time trying to hide the ball from somebody with a lot of BS.
Man, is that the truth?
I'm not going to try to hide the ball or cover the fact that my friend, the President of the United States, who I support and did support and voted for and campaigned for, I am not going to try to defend the indefensible. He has said some things that are horrible. I wish he wouldn't do it. Sometimes, as we say in Texas, he lets his alligator mouth overload his hummingbird rear end. And I am not going to risk my integrity and my good name trying to defend that crap. What I will do is stand up for him and stand up for America when the policies are the conservative line that I believe in, the Second Amendment, free speech, pro-life, low taxes, small government, all of that. So that's my deal. I try to do it with a little humor. And you know what? If people don't like it, their opinion of me is absolutely none of my business.
Hey, Larry, here's the thing, though, and I don't know how you raised your kids, but I raised my kids on issues instead of the people. I've always told them, and I've always tried to live my life when I'm trying to decide anything, I don't care about the personality of the person. What do they stand for? What are they doing? And when did we get away from that? Because at some point at least in my growing up, that seemed to be how it was for a long time, that you could actually look at a person, disagree with their personality, but approve of their policy. I mean...
Oh, okay. Again, I'm a reader. I'm not that bright. If I know anything, it's from people who are wiser than I am.
Now, this is
any more questions?
No. This is what I love about doing this show, though, because the one thing that everybody can agree on, and whether you like it or not, are the support of our heroes and the people that fight for this country, our troops. And I don't care if you can't even spell the word war, you got to support the troops. And that's what you guys have been doing that, and the Gatlin brothers have been doing that for most of your career, right?
Well, we have done it ever since that Marine daddy, when he came home from China, he and Mama got married, and he had brought his old mean green Marine jacket, and I wore it around till the hem wore off of it, and now that I have enough money to have my clothes tailored, I have it that square cut with the big pockets, epaulets, and I wear it in all different colors. I've got a blue one that has the American Eagle gold buttons on it.
Wow.
And I tell people those are not military buttons. I have not earned the right to do that. I was number 296 in the draft. I didn't serve. I'm not a veteran. But I wear it in honor of my father. And I asked a friend of mine if it was okay, and I wore it, and I explained tours, and I do it to honor my father. And my friend, General Colin Powell, said, Private Gatlin, you wear that coat in honor of your father. I approve.
We had General Colin Powell on this program about a month ago. And
wonderful human being. He and Miss Alma are a friend of ours. You know what? Great America. I'm going to call, as we see in Texas, I'm going to call BS on something you said a while ago.
Uh-oh.
You said that's something that we can all agree on is serving our military, or respecting our military. With all due respect, Randy, I think you're wrong. Because all people in America do not respect that.
Well,
all people, we have people marching up and down the street saying pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon.
Yeah.
We want dead cops.
Yeah.
We want them now.
Yeah.
We have people who want to take the ICE agents off of the border, to protect our country. They're law enforcement officers. They're military. And those who want us to take all of our troops out of Afghanistan, we'll never be out of Afghanistan. They got to protect the Khyber Pass. People don't know about that. They don't know the Khyber Pass from, Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So,
well, let me rephrase that, Larry. The people that come on this show respect the military.
There you go. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll buy that.
We're talking to Larry Gatlin here on the National Defense. I mean, you guys have been, you've been there. You've been to Bosnia. You've been to a lot of combat zones, and you understand how, and a lot of people understand that when you get to see the troops and when they get to see you, man, it just means so much to them.
Well, it's our honor to get to go. I've told the USO and the Air Force Band and people we go, I say, send us where you can't send anybody else.
Wow.
I can go solo and take one guitar and a little old amp about the size of a cigar box, and I can go entertain people. Or the brothers and I can go acoustic. We don't need a big band.
Yep.
I went on an Apache out to a place in Somalia about 2 weeks after Black Hawk Down, and it was 2 tanks and 1 tent in the middle of the day. 2 tanks, 1 tent, 2 5-man crews, and I set up on the tank.
Wow.
What? Guess what, Randy? Some of them were men of color. Some of them were 19 years old.
Yeah.
Some of them were women. Some of them didn't know Larry Gatlin from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But the fact that I came over there and they knew that I was an American, they didn't know country music. They were into rock and roll or soul or hip-hop or whatever. But you know what they were? They were human beings. They were American soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines. And it was my honor and is to sing for them on any and every occasion where we can work it out.
We went 20 days after Noriega was captured. I was doing a morning show in Kansas City, and we had Bob Dole to help us out, Ike Skelton, and we took 10,000 frozen White Castle hamburgers to Panama. And the thing he didn't tell us is that the snipers were still there, so they picked us up in an LAV and told us to immediately put our heads down, and that was that's eye-opening. But they did they did appreciate the White Castles, and I know since you live in Nashville, they should have been crystals, and maybe they should.
Well, that would be good, but I'm going to tell you what, Five Guys or Whataburger. I'm a Texan. We want Whataburger, but hey, the fact that you took them.
Yeah, that was just a great trip.
It's a little taste from home.
Yep.
And so I do appreciate you and your service. All those people who and their families. Sometimes we forget the family.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Who? Well, this has been a good interview. Did you tape it?
Did we tape this? Yeah. It's running.
Well, good. Send it to whom it may concern.
Yeah.
Fox News. I'm not a Fox News contributor. They think I'm too old and gray and full of crap, but I know more than. Of the celebrity types they have on there. I'm smarter than half of them, and half as smart as the other half.
Could I ask you a little bit about your music? I know you don't love talking about your music, but I have been since I was on WIVK in Knoxville, Tennessee. I've been playing Gatlin Brothers records, and I'm just such a fan of your words and of your writing. And you guys have a new gospel album now, and I know you're doing your Unplugged tour around. But the way that you write lyrics, Larry, and I'll just give you just one example, but the song "I've Done Enough Dying Today." How could love slip through our fingers and leave nothing but time on our hands? What? Where did that come? I mean, how do you do that?
Well, thank you. I'm humbled and honored. It's my favorite song that I've ever written. The deal is, I do master's classes out for high school and colleges, and I asked a young man, I asked the class one time, I said, so y'all want to be songwriters? And they all went, yeah. I said, you are songwriters. You're just not song craftsmen, because there's only one of those in this room, and that's me. Now listen up. And so I asked a young man, I said, do you want to be a songwriter? He said, yeah. I said, what do you like to read? He said, I don't like to read much. I said, really? I said, you want to be a writer and you don't like to read? I said, that's like telling me you want to be a fireman, but you don't want to get hot. You don't like spotted dogs. You don't want to ride fast. You don't like the spotted dog. You don't want to slide down the pole. You don't want anybody waking you up at 2 o'clock in the morning. You don't want to be a fireman. You want to, work out the the White Crystal at the White Castle. So I have read extensively. I've had great English teachers and history teachers and philosophy teachers when I was in college. And then I had great mentors, Dottie West, Chris Christopherson, Johnny Cash, Roger Miller, Willie Nelson, Chris Christopherson, people like that. And I try to make every word count, and I listen to my inner dialogue, because it's not an inner dialogue. It's not internal. It's just out there for the world to see. So I want every word, every syllable, every letter in the song to be in the proper place. I don't get it right every time. But I got a big house with a circle drive and a color TV. I guess I'm doing something right.
Well, no, it's just you're such a fabulous writer. My oldest daughter's in California, and she's trying to do singer-songwriter. And I sent her that couplet, and I said, if you want to learn how to write a song, listen to some Gatlin music. And, man, it's just great. Larry, listen.
Well, you're very kind. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for taking the time. It's been it's been an honor. And I'm just such a huge fan, and I appreciate everything you've said and everything you're doing.
Well, I appreciate it. What's your daughter's name?
Chelsea.
Will you tell Chelsea if she comes to Nashville, we'll sit down slave over a hot pencil, and a Palomino Blackwing 602 pencil, and a piece of white paper, and see if we can make up something.
Oh, man, that would be incredible. That would be wonderful. And I'll go ahead. I'll furnish the crystals.
You got a deal. God bless America. God bless you.
God bless you, Larry. Thank you so much.
You're the best. Thanks, Randy.
Welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller, and it's time for a new episode of Eye Insights from VSP Vision Care. Eye tips that you need to pay attention, because a lot of people do not pay enough attention to their eyes. Dr. Tim Jankowski joins us here in the National Defense. Dr. Jankowski, how are you?
I'm doing great.
You know, swimming is what we're going to be talking about, and I think this is such a big subject because a lot of people don't know exactly how to care for their eyes in the pool. What should you be aware of concerning your eyes around water?
Well, first off, pools, especially hot tubs, are very tough on the tear film. The tear film is a very thin layer of tears that coats the front surface of the eyes. And people who swim frequently or spend a lot of time in the pool, they will have some difficulties with keeping that tear film in the proper proportions. And that's what leads to the eyes feeling gritty and blurry and sometimes red as well.
Well, and, you know, protection in the pool, I know the eye goggles, especially if you swim a lot, are there certain ones you should look for? Because I've tried goggles before that really, didn't fit properly, and I think it's just not as effective when they're not the right fit.
Well, exactly right. If water's leaking in around the edges, you don't have a very good fit on it. So they should be ideally watertight. And if you do get water in the goggles themselves, or get exposed to the chlorinated water, it's important also to use eye drops to help rinse out the extra chlorine that got in your eyes.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that too, Dr. Jankowski. The chlorine in the water, that's got to be so damaging to your eyes.
Well, it's there for a reason. It's to kill bacteria in the pool itself, but with enough exposure, it also causes damage to the front surface of the eye as well. So that's what we have to guard against all the time.
People don't think about this, but if you're swimming like in a lake or somewhere like that, do you need goggles then also?
Oh yeah, you don't really want to look under a microscope at a little sample of lake
right.
water.
Exactly,
and see all the little things swimming in there.
Yeah.
So it's important to even wear goggles in a lake.
Yeah, my wife is afraid to look at a lake. So I mean, it's it's one of those things. If I have dry eyes, is there anything I need to do in addition to what we're talking about here?
Well, if you do have dry eyes, it's important to help protect that tear film even more. There's a newer type of eye drop out right now called gel tears, which is a much more thick, viscous type of an eye drop that will last longer and provide more protection for that tear film.
Okay. Any other items to be aware of while you're swimming?
Well, it seems counter to since you're in the water anyway, but always stay hydrated. You need to drink plenty of water because keeping hydrated is very important in order to keep that tear layer intact and functioning properly.
Yeah, you don't really think about that, as far as hydration for the eyes, but I guess that it's important for the eyes as well, right?
It absolutely is.
So if you wear contact lenses, is the same kind of guidelines apply?
Well, yes. It's important to remember with contact lenses, soft lenses specifically, is that they absorb everything they come in contact with. So the chlorine and in pool water, hot tubs, and things like that, and ocean water, lake water, it's important to ideally take the contact lenses out when you're going to be going in those type of activities. Hot tubs is actually the absolute worst case scenario I've seen for most eye infections.
Dr. Jankowski, for those who have not heard, can you share VSP's news? This is big news for our listeners.
Yes. VSP is currently a vision carrier for hundreds of thousands of federal employees through the federal dental and vision insurance programs. And there's great news because certain retired members of the uniformed services and their families, as well as most family members of active duty servicemen and women, will be offered vision care coverage beginning in January of 2019. Again, it might be a little bit early, but if you want to stay on top of this and get ahead, please visit tricare.benefeds.com for more information.
Dr. Jankowski knocking it out of the park again. Thank you, Doctor. We'll be back here next week with a new episode of Eye Insights from VSP Vision Care right here on the National Defense.